I actually just rewatched the your movie again today, and it's it's intense. The dread is intense that builds throughout it. I'm looking at your biography, and it looks like the last two movies you made were feature length,
Yeah.
and one of them was over 2 hours long, which, if,
Um,
or at least that's the runtime I saw.
oh, okay. Somebody might be giving it a few extra minutes. I think the last two are both an hour 45 exact or
Okay,
close.
that's
But
still, you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
um, was it freeing to do a short film,
Hmm.
especially one with a single setting and a very small cast? After
Yeah,
it's
totally.
feature length.
Totally. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but yeah, totally. The film that I did before this, which actually is the kind of the predecessor of Real Cool Time. That's what starts the story of these characters in this universe. That took me 5 years to do. So I was definitely looking for something that I could have fun with, that I could play with, get to work with the people I really admire, but also maybe less commitment. And we actually shot that in a weekend, and pretty much from writing until completion, it was about 6 months, which was a different process for me. So it was nice, very freeing. Totally.
Wow, yeah, that is nice. I think I've my friends and I, we made a few feature lengths and then a few shorts, and it's just, the shorts, like, oh, we can just shoot this really quickly, and the editing is so much
Mhm.
less.
Yeah.
So you said this was about a was it how long was the actual shoot of this?
2 days.
2 days. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Basically, our time and our schedules and our resources were going to allow for one weekend, at least easily. So we were kind of tasked with shooting all of it in a pretty short amount of time, and we're doing a movie full of oneers. So it proved to have some challenges, but we got it done.
Yeah, that's a lot of dialogue. I'm also just on a technical side, the whole film
Yeah.
set in the evening. So did you just black out the windows?
No, no, we started at night and we went until the morning
Okay.
each
So
night. Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead style, you just shot overnight.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's also, I think that's great to be able to do it back to back, because it's almost like a stage play. Whereas
Mm,
when you do other films, you like, okay, we're going to shoot this part, and then we got to come back to it when we can get back to this location, which we're
yeah.
because we aren't paying anything for it. It's going to take us a while to, yeah. So like having that energy going must have been kind of nice for the actors.
I think so. Absolutely. Both of the actors in the film, especially Alice Shan, who plays Julia, they're they're predominantly stage actors. So I think that's why Alice kind of came in with that experience of knowing how to say so much and kind of retain it all.
Yeah.
Not that a film actor wouldn't, but I just think because she is used to kind of having to know every line for a hour and a half, 2 hour play, it definitely worked in her favor because she does have the bulk of the dialogue in the movie. Some of it's uh, pretty extensive and a lot to remember.
Yeah. It that's impressive. And I think that it seeing some of those one takes is like, wow, God, that, I mean, it's just a lot of, well, speaking of words,
Yeah.
what was the writing process like? You said that this is an extension from the previous film.
Yeah.
Not seeing that, I'll tell you, you drop right into it, and I know that you've already done the work of the world building, but it's all really apparent watching this. It's just like, oh, okay, I get what this is. I get this universe, and it's
Thank you.
really impressive. So, just what was the process for writing this piece?
Well, that's awesome. That's really kind of you to say and really awesome to hear that because our biggest goal going in was I don't want you to have had to have seen Morbid Colors to get what's going on with Real Cool Time. I want you to be able to just land in there and kind of just be able to kick right in and understand what's happening. And hopefully we did our part in doing that. The writing process for me was just, I just want to write a film that I love. I want to have fun. I want to write something that speaks to me and I want to continue the story of this character. So I wanted to allow myself a little bit more freedom to just I don't know, inject a little bit more of me into it. I think the dialogue maybe in the previous film was a little bit more straightforward. I wanted to kind of bounce out of the box a little bit with this one and kind of throw some crazy stuff in there, and I don't know, just have fun.
Um, while we're still talking about the previous film, is there somewhere that people can watch that?
Yeah, yeah, of course. So you can find it on Amazon. I believe you can. I think it's available on physical and digital, and also on Vudu, and maybe Vimeo. I
Okay.
should know more, but I think those are the ones that are coming to mind.
Well, when we post this video, we'll make sure that we include all of that in the comments so people can check it out for themselves. I
Cool,
certainly
thanks.
check it out. One thing that goes along with this, you're shooting over 2 days, so there are some limitations with that. I would guess there's probably a good deal of prep, like pre-production, planning, because you can't really waste a lot of time if you have, I don't know, something like 16, 17 hours to shoot the whole thing.
Yeah.
What was that process, and how collaborative are you with the actors and the cinematographer? And well, yeah, I mean, how much leeway do you give an actor? We'll start there. How much leeway would you give an
Okay.
actor as far as dialogue? Because it is a very written film.
Mm.
It feels like I know it's the work of the actor to make it their own, but how much work was that? Like, was there a rehearsal period?
Yeah, we did one rehearsal. That's what we had time for.
Okay.
And at the time that I made this movie, I was living in East Tennessee, right at the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. I was about 8 or 9 hours away from the people I was working with. So very minimal prep time, very little chance in my schedule to get up there and do the work. So we had a read through, and then we had one solid rehearsal where we kind of blocked everything out, and then we just went from there. And I, for me, and maybe I think I started out of order. As far as working with the actors, it is a team effort. It is a team process. I'm very collaborative. For me, that's part of the fun of making movies, is getting to work with other artists and see where their brain takes it. When it comes to actors and how they interpret what I've written, I always like to give them the first take or two to kind of show me what they think. And then maybe I'll come in and tweak a little bit. That's kind of always been my method. If I'm really strong on something, I'll tell them that ahead of time, but a lot of the times I want them to be able to flex their muscle too. It needs to be, it needs to be good for everybody, and I want them to get out of it what they want and get to bring to the character what they think it needs. And of course, if there's a discussion that needs to be had, we'll have it. But with this one, everybody, I don't know, I think everybody just jumped right into their characters from the time they read the script. Lene had already played Devon
Oh,
in
right.
Morbid, so she was very much in tune with what that character was and what she required, even with the difference between that movie and this movie with her, because there is a big difference. Whereas in Morbid Colors, she was kind of the timid moral compass. In this, she's obviously someone who's very, very conflicted and going through a lot. So I feel like she bridged that gap really, really well and almost seamlessly. We had several discussions about it. I mean, I'm texting these people daily, but as far as being there in person and rehearsing, it was minimal. So by the time we got there, I do feel like we discussed it enough that they knew everything. And Alice, I'd seen her perform on stage, so I kind of knew her vibe, I knew her aura, I knew what she kind of brought, and I knew I wanted her to play Julia. So I think I brought the dialogue to what I interpreted her as her saying it, if that makes sense. So I kind of wrote it for her and for her just presentation, for her voice. I heard her as I was writing it. So I think kind of knowing who I had ahead of time helped me write for them, which I like to do if I can. Isn't always the case, but I like to if I can.
Having rewatched it today, that's something I really picked up on. Is like it did feel very specific. It felt like you were writing for their strengths and who they are, and so
Yeah, totally.
oh, that's great. Like, just being able to find this is who I want to do this piece with, and this is, yeah, that's terrific. So it really sounds like just the stars aligned, as they say, to get this done. Now, the other side of the collaboration, this is a film that is just so full of rising dread. And there's some things that I picked up on more today when I watched it. I had headphones on, and there's
Mm,
some low sounds that start building, and the sound design I love. I love the music, and
cool.
cinematography is pretty amazing. I take it this was filmed in one apartment,
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
Hmm.
So sometimes that's great because you don't have to move. You don't have to move shit anywhere. It's just okay. We're here. We own this location for the next 2 days.
Sure.
But the other side is it's an apartment, so it's limiting.
Mm,
The camera movement is terrific in this. One thing, this is a thing that you always see Brian De Palma do, and it's filming around mirrors. And it's a real big like show offy move for him. But the way that you film around mirror, I don't know how. I mean, it's really. I don't know how many times you pass him. The camera passes a mirror. And then there's one scene where there's a conversation, and it's also in the background being mirrored, and there's also, of
mm.
course, the imagery there.
Yeah, yeah.
This film really relies on the that visual sense and the sound to create this dread, this rising feeling of unease. Can you talk about what the process was working with the cinematographer, also editor, and sound designer, also the soundtrack music?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everybody's got like 5 jobs.
It's
And yeah,
we're
yeah.
getting paid for it, so
Absolutely. But all these people are my friends. They're people I've worked with before. They're people that I know what they bring to the table. So when it came to Jacob Belinsky, who's our co-producer and cinematographer and colorist and co-editor, I knew I knew what he could bring to this film. And I told him when I asked him to do it, because he was already on board as a producer, but I said, I want you to shoot this. Because typically I shoot my own stuff. And I said, for this one, I'm going to get the best that I know to do it. And that was Jake. And Jake brings in just this explosive visual kind of presentation that if you watch Morbid Colors, it's very bleak. If you watch this movie, it's very vibrant and just kind of blowing off the screen, in my opinion. And he's very inspired by Giallo and stuff like that. So you get a lot of those colors. And they said, that's what I want this movie to be. I want you to do your thing on it. So a lot of it was he and I collaborating to kind of create the look. I knew I wanted red and gold or red and yellow to be the primary colors. I knew what I wanted it to kind of feel like, and I wanted, atmosphere is a huge thing for me. I knew what I wanted that to be, but it's also kind of letting Jake come in and just do Jake. He's amazing, and to be able to let him just kind of run wild. That was a lot of fun. Obviously, we went through every scene in a painstaking fashion, finding out every camera turn, everything. But he brought so much just ingenuity and creativity to the movement. And a lot of that was him. And I'm happy to give him full credit for it. Nick Nyland, who did our score and our music, another guy I've known a long time. He and I went to film school together. He's out in LA now working. And I knew that he'd have the perfect score. I knew that he'd have the perfect sound design. Sound is kind of his baby. And I knew it'd be in the best of hands. And we both kind of knew like what our springboard points were in terms of the score. I love Jim Jarmusch. He knows I love Jim Jarmusch. I love Squirrel. So
uh-huh.
he was like, okay, I know what you need. I know what you need. But then he puts in his own thing, and there's Carpenter in there, and there's so much stuff in there. And every time I get anything he sent me, it was always just the perfect thing. So it's just kind of knowing and trusting the people you're with and having experience with them and just letting them be them within the realm of what you need and trusting them to do it justice, which both of them did. So I lucked out for sure, knowing these talented folks.
Yeah. Two things. One is that I was actually going to mention that it's a film that is centered around music and horror,
Yeah.
but it definitely feels more akin to say Only Lovers Left Alive than
Yeah.
Phantom Paradise. But two, is there any way I can buy a copy of the soundtrack? I love the sound of this film. I love even
Dude,
the cues. It's just great.
I've talked to Nick about it a little bit, maybe getting it out there somewhere where people can get it. I mean, it was a very brief conversation, but hearing you say that kind of confirms to me that maybe we should do something. So I might have to get in touch with him again about that. And it's funny you mentioned Stranger Than Paradise because that was the inspiration for me to do the Oneers. I always, ever since seeing that movie, yeah, yeah, at a young age, even though his are all stationary, it was always for me like I want to do that one day. I want to make a movie that has nothing but these, or appears to be these, because we break at a few of them. I can't say which, but as the movie progresses and gets more wild, we have to use movie magic a little bit. But the idea of doing like 6 scenes all of in one take came from that film almost directly. So I thought this was the perfect project for it. But yeah, no, Jim Jarmusch is alive and well in this work for
Yeah,
sure. Love that dude.
he's great, and he was also, I think, born in the same hospital that I was. So that's
Akron, Ohio, yeah?
Ohio.
Yeah, awesome.
Uh, let's see here. God, I feel like I could ramble about this movie for a long time. But the one
Oh,
thing that people don't talk about, actually, I did an interview with one of the other filmmakers who's in this festival,
mm,
Enya, who directed and wrote and stars in and edited,
oh
and
my God.
it's because these films we're not getting any money for, so you have to do everything.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, of course.
Also, he started his film and he usually shoots and he's in almost every scene. So it was sort of the question, like, how does that feel when you're normally behind the camera? How does that feel to relinquish that to someone else? And what is that? It sounds like you have a lot of trust. And I mean,
Yeah,
of course, this is terrific looking film, but how is there a hesitation?
no,
Well,
no, not if you have the right person and not if you have no ego. And
yeah,
that's where I come from. And that's what I present to this. Now, would I give it to someone that I didn't, trust as much as Jake? Maybe not.
sure.
But I know that is between Jake and I, he is superior, and I'm okay saying that. So I want the best on this movie, and that's why Jake's there. So there was it was an honor for me for him to do it, honestly, more than anything. And I knew that we'd already worked together on other stuff. So I knew that he and I would be seamless. And yeah, I think it worked out.
Yeah, well, I would agree. Uh, in addition to Jarmusch, another, I think it was maybe on the second or third watching that I started to feel uh, sort of reminded of the film Possession,
Oh,
a terrific film that has some similar visuals, but it's also like it's sort of like a post Giallo movie.
okay.
But you're talking about coloring, and that's something that sometimes people don't realize what that is.
Mhm.
And this is your film is really aggressively colored.
Yeah.
You maybe talk a little bit about what that process is, maybe for people who don't really know what film coloring is, or I guess what is it? You just still say film coloring, right? Even though it's digital, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess I think we call it that. We can go with that. Honestly, that's another realm where
Sure.
that I just kind of tell Jake, this is what I want. This is the texture I want. Because it's not just color, it's also texture.
Yeah,
It's
right.
and I put 16 millimeter grain in everything I do. And pardon my expression, but we beat the shit out of every image that we make it look
Well,
rougher than it is, and to get it grainy and just give it that kind of filmic look. And you can't fully replicate that. I mean, to my eye at least, it still looks like video, but I love the grainy quality of it. And so I let Jake and I talk about texture and just kind of just the vibe of you could look at one frame of something and get, or at least, I look at one frame of something like Mandy and I can just smell that movie. And
right.
I want that too with what I'm doing. And or at least I want to try. So texture is a big thing with me. Color, I just kind of say, Jake, these are the colors I want. Obviously, the moments where the supernatural element in the film comes in, I want red. I want it glowing red, and everything else, show me what you got. And then I just kind of let him go free. We kind of talk about the parameters of what I'm after, and then I kind of let him explore, and then we kind of look at it bit by bit by bit. And I don't think he ever showed me anything except maybe one or two things that I just said, yeah, let's tweak that a little bit. But when it comes to color, he is the man. So I definitely set him loose.
As well anyone should, I think. Um, so this is a question that I asked. We started doing these questionnaires in 2020 when we couldn't do an in-person festival.
Yeah.
We did this, but this is an interesting question. Well, interesting is a boring word, but this is a question that I think that matters. You having made feature-length films. I mean, an hour and 45 is it's a long road to hoe. I mean, so
yeah.
what advice would you give someone who is about to make their first film?
Oh gosh, understand that it's probably not going to be great, and that it's going to take doing it again and again and again and again, and you're going to try to put everything you want in a movie into that first one, and that's fine. But you just have to understand that it's a process. It's a marathon. It's not a race. I started making movies in 2003, and I just never stopped. And I learned more from that. No offense to my education. I love where I went to school. I love my film school, but I learned more from just getting out and doing it than I ever did sitting in a classroom. So I would just say, just keep working, keep at it, keep learning, and keep surrounding yourself by people that lift you up and tell good stories, help you tell good stories.
Yeah. It hurts, that first one.
Oh, yeah, it does. I still remember mine very clearly, and I wish I could forget it.
Yeah, I have like two different firsts. I have the first one the first short, and I looked at it, I was like, God, it's just so far away from what I saw in my head. But
yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is you're someone who's been making films now for 20 years.
Yeah.
What's next?
What's next? Okay. Well, we want to keep moving on this universe and on these characters. So we are in the very early pre-production stages on the next short. I want to make a trilogy of shorts that tell one arc of this character. Like, we've just seen her. Well, I don't want to give away. I don't want to give away the story of the film, but you saw the
something happens.
Something happens, and I want to take it from there, and I want to kind of see where that goes. There's 2 more films I want to make in that universe, and then I want to combine them into an anthology. That's what's next. So,
oh, cool.
That's the plan, at least for now. You know how movies are; they can always change. But
yeah,
we are definitely doing the next one. So we're pumped.
Well, when you're done, send it to us. I'd love to see it.
Oh man, yeah, of course.
Well, now we've come to the final question, the most important question that I'm asking everyone this year.
Sure.
What's your favorite pizza topping?
Man, I was not expecting that.
No, it is.
Pepperoni, gotta be. Had pizza last night, put pepperoni on it, so I'm gonna have to go with pepperoni.
It's a solid. It's a classic. It's a classic for a reason. So
it'd be a classic.
Well, is there any parting message? Oh, actually, how can people find you if they want to follow you on social media or newsletter?
I'm kind of private. My stuff is just kind of me out on an island, but the movie is on Instagram. I think that's our primary, at Real Cool Time Movie on Instagram. And it's pretty much where we're putting all of our stuff, all the photos, all the videos, all the trailers, all the fun stuff, and all the news about where you can see it. So I'd say Instagram would be the way to go.
Terrific. We will make sure that everyone knows about that. Well, Matthew, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was fun.
Really, if you can't tell, I enjoyed the hell out of your movie. So
I appreciate that so much, man. Thank you.
I don't have to tell you this, but please keep making them. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We're here to watch.
Do it.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Doing this.
Yeah, man. For sure. Thank you for having me.